time for the classic laundry room video, and this topic is going to be, I don't know what the problem is actually with this topic, but I get in trouble for this no matter, it's like, who is that one Greek goddess, or not goddess, maybe mortal that was cursed? Persephone, to predict the future, and she was cursed that no one would believe her. Oh, mother. My idea is just, what I find people really object to is making judgments about someone quickly, and or judgments about a situation quickly, and being told you can't possibly know that. There was like the classic example, because it got the most amount of people involved, was a new hire at my job. I did not like him instantly. I refused to sit at any table with him. I refused, when I showed up to the bar, if he was there drinking, I would not sit with my crew. I would get a beer because I went to the bar, and I'd leave because of this guy. And everyone's like, you have no right to judge this guy based on no information. The guy turned out, was like, kept trying to buy pot from people. This is as time went on, and like wanted, like, no, I need large amounts. And it turned out he ended up leaving because he actually was a professional informant for the police. That's what he did for a living. And everyone's like, how did you know that? And I'm like, I just didn't like the douchebag instantly. I didn't know he was an informant from the police. I knew he was a douchebag. The mind absorbs a huge amount of detail immediately, and you can ignore that. It's one, actually, a game a friend of mine used to play a lot with me. It was like, we when something went wrong, we'd say, did you get any indication at all leading up to this? Like, typically mistakes build on each other, and we'd kind of go back over our own judgment and think, did I listen to myself right up until this point? You know, at any point in time, did I communicate or think, this seems a little bit off, this seems wrong? You could also often tell what's going to happen, especially as the older you get. You have like a greater amount of experience to draw from. Coming up the road here, and 2 lanes go into one, and I'm like, something's off, and so I pay attention. You get a signal, and then you pay attention. I notice, like, the roads are icy. We're coming up onto the highway. The on-ramp goes down from 2 lanes down to 1 lane, and everyone's bumper to bumper. And I mean about 10 cars are bumper to bumper on icy snow. You see the conditions out there. And I just slowed way back. Like, I couldn't tell why they were doing what they were doing, but I knew what would happen. And sure enough, when we got to the top, actually the top was even worse. The conditions at the top of the ramp were worse than at the bottom, and 10 cars all came to a stop because they were all shoulder to shoulder. Everyone was trying to force each other off the road, and on either side of that it got really narrow, and it was like no one was prepared just to go smashing out through the ice, and no one was prepared to like give up their spot. I'm not going to let anybody in ahead of me. I mean, that's the thing, you can see that unfold on the road every time you hit the road. It's like, so you recognize these subtle behaviors, and you're going to be right. But I think the reason why people resent this is because they often suffer from that. I've had people make snap judgments about me and be completely wrong. The only time that that's actually wrong is if that person doesn't give up their initial perception. Like, I pissed off my internet buddy Don today by saying that I thought this person in one of the videos they liked was probably did not work, and someone else supported them. And they were furious. And I'm like, look at all these details. And like, when I started looking for more and more details, the more and more I saw that, like, kind of like made me think that this person was still living at home and supported by their parents. Which kind of calmed them down. I don't know why that would, because that's legit, right? If you're living with your parents, that's an accepted part of growing up, society. Um, if I found out actually she was like a performing artist and she made a lot of money, I'd go, oh, fuck, cool. What's the whole deal? Like, what was the deal with that room? I know, right? That's my sister's room. She has a nice camera on her computer or something like that. Then you change your mind. I had this one particular guy, and I promised not to talk about him a long time ago, so maybe I might get away with it. He actually had heard about me from people who did not like me. These were his friends. And so, like, for the first 6 months I worked with him, he was terrible to work with. And I also used to work in a field where 3 months was your average career length. So this guy, like, he was a good guy. He was a hard worker. He knew what he was doing. He was competent. But, like, he had this preconceived notion about me. And, this is a cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance, I think. If you have a preconceived idea in your mind and you can't give it up, even if the evidence goes against it. And it took him 6 months to give up. And he started to explain how he'd come to the wrong conclusion. And I'm like, I know, man, I know. Just don't take this any further, okay? Like, if you want to start treating me nicer, I'd appreciate that. Thank you for seeing the real me. But he kept trying to tell me, no, other people told me. And I'm like, dude, this is making it worse, all right? It's like, you've been treating me badly. And I said, this has actually been very difficult 6 months for me because of the way you treat me. And, like, I've always tried to rise above it and not, be involved in your anger and drama. And now, if we're going to be clear of it, let's just drop it. But he wouldn't drop it, and I got pissed at him. I'm like, see, look, I'm basing an opinion about you based on how you behave right now while you're listening to me. I'm trying to set boundaries. I don't want to hear about these people that don't like me. I don't want to hear that story. I don't want to hear that you make decisions based on what other people say, that then affect other people. You negatively affect other people based on something someone else says, even despite your perception never matched that. So that's pissing me off. And they wouldn't stop. And I'm like, all right, fine, you can treat me nicer, but I think for sure I'm going to be treating you worse. Because, it took you a long time to get a good idea of who I was, and now it's taken me a long time to get a good idea of who you were. I've gone up in your estimation, and you've gone down. Yeah. It's okay to make a snap judgment because that's what the brain does. It's okay to listen to that.